Now I get a bucket of clean water and I'll bring it out here and I'll show you. I need 2 buckets of clean water. One of genuinely clean water, which will go through the system, and one where I can just basically wash the tips of this filter system. Alright, so the cleaning process is straightforward but very laborious. Very laborious. So I just usually get a brush to start with and just clean off the tips in this original. This is clean water technically, but I find it's easier to get the tip clean while it's still wet rather than having to wait. We still have paint in this hose here, and we're going to stick it in a jar. We don't want to waste anything if we don't have to. I turned the nozzle around so it's going to clear out. That's the way to paint. This is the way to clear out the nozzle. Just turn it around the other way. And it'll basically just be putting a pin prick of paint into the jar, and everything should still be on. So technically this is what it should look like. We should lower the pressure to the priming stage. Turn the primer.
Now it's on 0. So now I turn it on 1 or 2.
Try it on 2. I'm not sure if that's watery yet.
Fill it up and then stop.
Yeah, just like that. It's watery.
Water, yeah, right.
Sprayed.
Right.
It just happened then. So that's still alright. It's not great paint. But we can save this and even mix this in with the next batch of paint. Alright, so now there's water just running through here. Yeah, that's water.
So we'll turn it off?
Alright, I'm going to spray it in here. Yeah, you can kind of go back and forth with the water till both of them are quite clean. So I'm going to put this into the next fresh water and throw out this. This one here. So I'll replace this with some fresh water. All these chunks. That's the stuff that you really have to clean by hand. You can't, there's no real automatic way to clean the machine. That's why I just keep changing the water for clean water until all of these little chunks of paint are gone and it's completely clean. As you can see, it's not completely clean yet. And there's still a lot of paint that sits in different parts of the machine, so you have to take every pipe off, every fitting, and either you could use a brush or a rag or something. I think a scouring brush that you'd have in your kitchen is pretty useful because it's got a long handle. We use one of those sometimes, and get every little bit of paint off, because once it dries it might be a lot harder to remove. Alright, I'm just going to keep doing this for a while. Oops. Cleaning every single part separately. There's no way around it. I'll take this apart too. The good thing is all the electrical parts are only in the pump. All of this is safe to put in water. Nothing bad can happen with electricity because there isn't any. It's just water pressure or paint pressure. So I have to take the filter out. To do that I need what we call a spanner, or I think Americans say wrench. Here, that's where I have to loosen it. Once this comes loose, you can just do it by hand. You absolutely have to clean the filter out. I think it's the most important part. Again, the whole thing needs to be submerged and cleaned out with a brush. You know, like I said, if you've got a big sink to work in, that's pretty helpful. You know, take everything apart that you can. Every portion of the machine. You'll get familiar with it anyway, because you have to take it all apart every time. Every bit of this needs to be completely clean, which means every part of it has to be removed and personally dealt with. Maybe this isn't the best brush, but still, I don't mind it. It's doing the job. And it was a paintbrush I was using earlier today. Okay, this part of the gun's pretty easy to clean. You know, just submerge it in water, give it the once over, and it cleans up pretty easy. Oops. But again, the filter is a very important part to clean. This part is where a lot of problems can happen. And if you're not cleaning your filter, then you might have bigger problems with the hose later on down the line. You need 2 spanners to undo this filter portion. That's a chamber here, and you need to release it. Which way? This way. No, this way. That way. Alright. Don't overdo it, because then you might have trouble getting the parts apart. So when I put them together, when I put everything together, I just do it firm so it stops, but I don't really try to extra tighten it. It's not like a race car. I just push it down so there's enough force. And then here's the filter itself. You do need 2 spanners to do this. There's a really cool floating part here on the filter. That's just so that the gun can move around freely, but it doesn't do anything. And then so you'll see that it splits in half, right down the center, right down the center. It's a chamber. And this is where you'll see what the paint quality looks like. In here, you can buy these filters very cheaply on eBay. I bought like 5 filters the other day for about $3.50. You pull that out by hand. You don't have to use any special tools, but you just use a little bit of brute force. It's like a pen ink that goes into the back of a pen. It's that simple. You see all these chunks? These are going to cause problems next time you want to paint. So this has to be completely cleaned out. What I usually do is I take it into the shower or something and shower or hose out all of the pieces so that there's no chunks of paint left in there. That also means you've got to really clean out inside the chamber. Everything where dried paint could be a problem later on. So again, I said it's laborious. Doing it this way, like on the job, is the worst possible way to do it. What I would recommend is if you have a dedicated wet area of your workspace where you can use a pressure hose or something like that to clean things, or at least have a big sink so that you don't have to worry about how much of the splashback is going to get on everything. Alright, I'm nearly done with the chamber. It's not that hard to clean, but you've got to do it all while it's still wet. If it goes dry, you won't be able to do anything with it. Alright, so I'm going to go and clean the this filter separately. I'm going to blow water through it. You just blow water in here, and it'll push all of the little paint particles out, and then it'll be really clean to use for next time. This is clean now. I've got to clean this bit, but that's where the filter goes in here. Someone did ask a question about the filter. Literally, the filter you can buy, the white ones, the coarse ones with the bigger holes for house paint, and then I think the red tip, that one it's a finer mesh because they expect you to put a wood stain and very thin things through it. So it's this simple. You take the filter and you put the filter into that part of the handle. That's right. Sure, that's it. That's all. And then you yank it out and it comes out. You don't need any special tools or any special kind of technique or method. It's literally brute force. So you push it in the same as you put the ink in a pen. Push it in as far as it goes. Put the other end on and it'll be tight anyway. Okay? Brute force. Pull that thing out. Clean it. Stick it back in. Alright, so I'll finish cleaning this now. The hose is empty. I'm going to wash the outside of the hose. That's not much fun to wash. I usually do that outside with a garden hose or something. And a rag. So I use the rag over the whole length of the hose to clean the hose off. It's very labor intensive, and if you've got an offsider or a young guy, you know, like an apprentice, that should be their job to clean all of this stuff. Mind you, if they don't clean it properly, they could really ruin a $500 machine. Well, $400 machine plus accessories. So do it properly, clean everything right, make sure everything's separate. So you're sure that all the pieces are clean, and then let them dry. You know, I disconnect it from here is the final part. This is the last nut. I'll make sure there's no pressure. Okay, no pressure in the machine. I release this nut. And that's the last one on the hose. The machine itself, all it needs is a wet rag because the machine just gets dust on it. But the hose is going to get washed separately now. And these hoses here should also be disconnected. You've really got to disconnect everything. Once you've taken off the last nut here, there's only some butterfly clips that you can release by hand. Loosen these big hoses. Press down the clips, push them down the hose a bit so they're free. You've got to wiggle them a little. They will come free eventually. Yep. And then that's it. So the machine itself just needs a dust down with a rag, probably this one. But I have to now go and clean this hose separately till it's clear. And it's not clear yet. I have to clean this hose separately until it's completely black again. But all of these hand accessories are already clean. The idea is just to wash them off now and let them dry properly. Okay, that's as much of the cleaning as you need to know. This part has to get washed. The hose needs to be washed, and make sure that you've put all of the paint out of the hose, because once it dries in there, you might as well just buy another hose. And I'm sure they're expensive because everything else from this brand has been quite expensive. Alright, I'll take this stuff now and go clean it outside. I'll take this too because I'm afraid it's still full of water.